week's episode of the Gravy podcast. Today we're going to be doing the third and the final round of the superhero draft that we've been doing for I think like the past 2 months. And so first off, I feel like we should kind of explain how this episode is going to be a little different. So last time I had come up with like a movie order to go along with like my castings and what I think like the DCEU should be doing coming forward, and it took up a lot of time in the episode. So I think in the future we're gonna
Oh,
make
sorry.
that. Oh, you're good. We're gonna make that its own episode, and Nathan's gonna come up with a plan for Marvel, and I can go into like further depth like for my plan for DC. So Nathan, do you want to start us off with the first round, or the first pick of the third round?
Alright, so first up on my list is Spider-Woman. And it was kind of difficult to find the right cast. I didn't want to pick anybody that was like pretty famous, you know? But I couldn't really decide. So for Spider-Woman, I think Mila Kunis would be the best choice for Spider-Woman.
I've only seen a couple things that she's in, but I think she could do like a pretty good job with it.
Yeah.
Especially if they do like a clone version of Peter Parker, and I feel like her and Tom Holland could have some really good chemistry.
Mhm. She's in the Book of Eli, which I watched recently, and she was really good in that. And that was an action-packed movie, so I mean, superhero stuff wouldn't be anything new to her, I feel like. So I think she would do a good job.
I mean, also she's on a lot of like fan castings, so I mean, I don't think there'd be a whole lot of opposition if she was casted.
Mhm. The only problem that I have is that she's a more popular celebrity, and what I really want to try and do is get some lesser known people in those roles, but I couldn't think of anybody else.
Okay, so for my first pick, so in the first round, I did a lot of maintenance picks and like trying to fix some of the castings or recast some of the characters that actors have left or got fired or whatever. And the thing with like the Batman franchise in particular, we don't really know if like J.K. Simmons is like coming back to play Commissioner Gordon now that he's kind of back at Marvel, because he's playing J. Jonah Jameson again. So like for my first pick, I chose Kevin Costner as Commissioner Gordon. Kevin Costner has been doing like a lot of more like TV and more like grounded stories, and I feel like he could really pull off a Commissioner Gordon that would live in the same world as like as if they do recast Ben Affleck, like he could be a Commissioner Gordon in a world where Gerard Butler is Batman. And I think he would work really well off of Gerard Butler, and also I think Kevin Costner would look good with the Commissioner Gordon mustache.
Yeah. Alright, so next I have Hyperion, and I think Ian Somerhalder would be a really good choice to play Hyperion, because in the show Lost, which I've been watching recently, the character that he plays as in there has like a pretty quick temper, and so he goes from being this real nice dude to just this guy on a short fuse. And I feel like that's an important trait for Hyperion, you know, for him to go from being the good guy to, this dude's bad. So Hyperion is Ian Somerhalder.
I mean, Hyperion is supposed to be like it's supposed to be like Superman, like if he wasn't raised by the Kents.
Mm-hmm.
Like if if Superman existed in the Marvel universe, because like the Marvel and the DC universe like are very different. Like the Marvel universe would just I don't think could work with a character like Superman, and so it's kind of like a play on that,
Mm-hmm.
just to see what it would actually be like if there was a character like Superman. So I think that'd be really interesting if they did that in the MCU, just to see what they would do with it. I think that'd be really interesting.
For sure.
For my second pick, I have Kate Winslet as Cersei. And now Cersei is like the goddess of magic, and she's one of Wonder Woman's biggest villains. And I think Kate Winslet, I don't know if she's still doing big blockbuster stuff, because I mean, I've seen her, like, she's in Titanic, she's in Divergent, and I mean she's in a lot of other big movies. And I think for like a character that is supposed to be a goddess, I think it'd be really interesting. I think it'd be a good idea to pick like an already really well-known, established actress. And I think that would be really interesting, because I think DC's already kind of doing that. Is trying to pick safer big actors like Ben Affleck and Jason Momoa and like J.K. Simmons.
Yeah.
And like Jeremy Irons. Those are all pretty big names in Hollywood, and they've been cast as DC heroes and characters. So I mean, I think it seems likely, and I think also it'd just be really interesting to see Kate Winslet as a villain going up against Gal Gadot.
Yeah. So next I have the Beast, and I think that Michael C. Hall would be the best choice for Beast. And Michael C. Hall's he's got a pretty good filmography. He's in.
Who is that? That name sounds familiar.
He's in Dexter, and he's in quite a bit more. I can't remember exactly. I'll have to look it up. Here, just give me a second. But he's in quite a bit of well-known stuff. Yeah, but Dexter, I think, is the most prominent of his roles. The Crown, Game Night. He worked with Daniel Radcliffe in Kill Your Darlings. He was in a Justice League animated movie. He's worked with Liam Neeson and all these other actors. But I think he can look the part for the Beast, and it won't take much to do that. But with all those other movies that he's in, I'd say he's a pretty good actor. I haven't actually seen him in anything, but if he's in all that kind of stuff and you're working with Liam Neeson and stuff like that, I think it's pretty safe to say that he's got the acting chops. So, Michael C. Hall for the Beast.
Okay, my third pick is George Clooney as Jay Garrick, and like I really enjoy George Clooney every time I see him in something. I know some people have like a problem with him for some reason, but I mean everything that I see him in, I really enjoy, and he just has like really good charisma whenever he's on screen, and he's able to have really good chemistry with just about anyone. And I think he looks like Jay Garrick. I mean, I think
Oh yeah.
he looks like a superhero. And I mean, he played Batman, so back in the really crappy Joel Schumacher movie. So it'd be like, come on, you didn't have a very good time playing Batman. How about you come back and you give it one more go at being a superhero, and guess what? You'll get to play Jay Garrick. You'll get to play an actual good character, and something that more suits you than Batman. And I think it would work out really well, especially if he's going along with other actors, because Jay Garrick is one of the Flashes. If he's around Donald Glover, who I cast as the Flash, and
that would be really fun to watch, him and Donald Glover working together, for sure.
Caleb McLaughlin as Kid Flash as Wally West. I think he would just bring something new and fresh. Because I mean, we've seen Jay Garrick in in the Flash show, but I mean, it wasn't like he stuck around a whole lot. So I think it'd be really interesting just to see him take on more of a leadership role in the movies, especially with Donald Glover and Caleb McLaughlin. I think it would just work super well. And I mean, like I said a little bit ago, he has the ability to have really good charisma with a lot of different actors, and I think it would just work really well with him.
Mm-hmm. All right, so the next character that I have is Bishop, and I think that Kari Payton from The Walking Dead is what I know him best in. But Kari Payton, he plays King Ezekiel in The Walking Dead, and Ezekiel is one of my all-time favorite characters in that show and in the comics too. I just love that character so much, and Kari Payton does an amazing job playing that character. And while King Ezekiel is much more light-hearted than Bishop is, he can still pull off the more serious tone and everything. And so I think he would be a great choice to be Bishop.
See, it annoys me because Bishop is in Days of Future Past, but he has no lines. Like he doesn't say or do a whole lot. And it's so frustrating because like in the like Wolverine in the X-Men cartoon, he's like a really important character.
Yeah.
He's so cool. He's one of those characters that he should like steal the show just because he's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
You know? But yeah. Are we okay? My number 4th pick is Ralph Fiennes as Ra's al Ghul. Ralph Fiennes, like he played Voldemort. He's been in several other things. I can't remember. I was watching this one movie, and he was in it. And like, since my mom was like a really big Harry Potter fan, I just looked at her. I was like, "Is that Voldemort?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, that's Ralph Fiennes." And I was working on the casting list, and I don't remember what movie it was, but like he was playing like more of a light-hearted, like more of a soft-spoken character, and I thought that was really interesting because he has that range. And so I thought, why not put him as Ra's al Ghul and let him do a little bit more? Because it's not like he did tons as Voldemort. I mean, he was just there to be scary, and just to, because he doesn't really do a whole lot until the very end of, not like even like not to the very end of this like Deathly Hallows. That's like whenever he does the most stuff. And so I think it'd be really interesting. I think he could really pull off an immortal assassin, and also he would work really well with Gerard Butler.
Yeah, well, he was actually
really
in Schindler's List, which I just watched, which is kind of funny because, you know, Liam Neeson played Ra's al Ghul, and he's the other main character in that movie. He's the main character, but Ralph Fiennes is the other main character in that movie. And it was kind of cool because he was playing a character that was the opposite of Liam Neeson's character. So, it's a good pick.
That'd be really cool just to have just to be like, oh yeah, he worked with the original Ra's al Ghul. I think he would just work.
And he looks a lot like Liam Neeson too. Like.
Oh yeah, he does. It's weird. It's kind of uncanny how much alike they look.
Yeah. So next, I have Colossus, and I'm gonna cast Joe Leo. I'm gonna take another try at that. Joe Manganiello.
Is it Mangello?
Yes.
He's a DC character. He plays Deathstroke.
Oh, he does. Dang. I don't have a backup for that. I wish I would have known that. Yeah. But he's like, he's Flash Thompson in the Sam Raimi movie. He shows up there at the beginning.
Yeah, because everyone in that movie looks like every person that's supposed to be like 16 looks like they're 30, and he's one of those people. He just looks like he's like 35, and he still goes to high school. But if I hadn't picked Florian Montagu to play Bane, I would pick him to play
Colossus.
Colossus, because he's Russian. Florian Montagu, and Colossus is a very proud Russian character. But I don't know who else would be him.
Yeah, I'd have to look for that again. Oh, that sucks.
Do you want to just go on to your next pick?
Yeah, I'll do that. So next is Angel, and for Angel I picked Alex Pettyfer. Did you cast him already?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So, but yeah, Alex Pettyfer, I think he's one of the lesser known talents in cinema right now. I think he does a lot of TV shows. But he's on like so many like fan casting choices, you know. But
his name sounds familiar, but I don't know what he's
in. But he looks like Angel, and if I remember correctly, when I read like an overview on him, he kind of plays more like tortured souls, you know. And so I think, you know, for Angel becoming Archangel, that's going to be a really important thing for him to be able to pull off. And so if he's already doing characters like that, then, and he's a lesser known talent too, then he's perfect for the role of Angel.
Oh, Angel is definitely a tortured soul. I mean, just watching like a Wolverine in the X-Men, he's definitely a tortured soul. So I mean, if he can pull off that, then I mean, it should work.
And I really hope they would give him more screen time and like an actual part to play, because in like in X-Men: The Last Stand, he's hardly in it. Like they set him up to where it looks like he's gonna play a big role in the movie, but he doesn't do anything at all. Like he gets to the final battle, and then he just flies away. And then in X-Men Apocalypse, I mean, they didn't really delve into his becoming Archangel a whole lot. It was just, you know, Apocalypse is there and gives him metal wings, and then boom, Archangel, which I thought was really dumb and a definite misuse of that character. Wasted so much potential there. But anyways.
Yeah, I think definitely if Marvel is going to do their own X-Men, they definitely need to walk away from having Wolverine be at the center of all the X-Men movies and make it more about the team as a whole. Because I mean, I like Wolverine. He's probably my favorite X-Men, but he should not be the one that's leading the team. I mean, Cyclops should be the one leading. I mean, we should learn more about Storm and Jean Grey and Cyclops and Archangel and Beast and Colossus. But in the movies, it never really seems like they're as important as Wolverine.
Yeah, for sure. Anyways.
Okay, my next pick is, since I just casted Ra's al Ghul, I need to cast Talia al Ghul, and I'm going to cast Olivia Munn. Olivia Munn played Psylocke in X-Men Apocalypse, and it's not like she had a whole lot to do in that movie. And I mean, from what I've read, that was a part that she really wanted to have, but she didn't do a whole lot. So why not? Like if I'm in charge of casting a DC, why not be like, hey, you weren't given the treatment that you needed to play this character, why not come over here and play a character that has a really big part, and you'll be acting with Ralph Fiennes and Gerard Butler, and you'll be given the screen time that you need in playing a character that actually matters.
I think she could do a good job in that.
Yeah, she looks the part. She's at the right age range, I think, to play Talia al Ghul, because I mean, in the comic books and everything, they have I don't remember what it's called, but it's pretty much like the Fountain of Youth. It's like the resurrection Bath. I don't remember what it's called, but I mean, I think it'd be okay to have a younger actress play and be like, oh yeah, at one point I died and I was brought back to life. Oh, it's a Lazarus Pit. Yeah,
Yeah,
and they like, oh yeah, I died at one point and I was brought back using the Lazarus Pit. So I mean, I don't think it's that far-fetched if she's a little bit younger than Gerard Butler, but I think it would definitely work. I think she would work really well, and she looks the part, and I just think it'd be really interesting.
for sure. Next, I have Electro, and I don't know. What did you think of Electro in the Amazing Spider-Man 2?
I'm not a big fan of Jamie Foxx. I think he's a pretty one-dimensional actor. I think he's only good in certain parts, and I don't know. Electro didn't seem like he needed to be in that movie. Like
Mm-hmm.
Green Goblin, like Harry Osborn shouldn't have been the villain either, because they should have spent that movie building on on Peter's and his relationship. And they definitely should have casted someone else as Electro,
Mm-hmm.
because like I just don't buy it. I just didn't buy it that he was this like weird nerdy outcast guy. Like just he didn't have the right vibe. It was like he was trying to act like Jim Carrey. It felt like he was trying to go too far
Mm-hmm.
for it, and I don't know. I just didn't like it, and I think they could have definitely picked someone else to play it.
Yeah, so anyways, for Electro, I have Kevin McKidd as Electro. And he's been in Grey's Anatomy. He was Poseidon in Percy Jackson. And he's in Brave, Train Spotting, all these other movies. He's got a really good filmography. Um, so I think he's got the talent. I mean, I've seen him in a few things, but I haven't really seen him in anything that he's a huge part of. But based on his filmography, I'd say he's definitely got the experience. And I think he looks like Electro too. Like it wouldn't take much to make him look like Electro. So I think he could probably do a really good job.
Yeah, like I can picture in my head the Poseidon character, but I don't really know the actor that well. But
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, I don't think it'd be hard to do much better than what had happened with the Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Hmm.
But I mean, Electro is one of Spider-Man's. Is not his biggest villain, but it's a villain that shows up a lot. So
Yeah.
it's important to cast someone that can be a lesser villain, but can also have really good impact. But my next pick is Saoirse Ronan as Miss Martian. Now, Saoirse Ronan is one of my favorite actresses that's working right now, and I think she's definitely the best young actress that's working right now. Because every time I see her in something, she does an absolutely amazing job, like in Lady Bird and in Little Women, and I'd seen her in something else, but I don't remember. But she's no stranger to playing outcast characters, and Miss Martian, like in the Young Justice show, is very much of an outcast at first, and like she has to like learn human customs and everything, and I think Saoirse Ronan would be really good for it, because she's no stranger to playing outcast, and also she's one of those actresses that has really good chemistry with anybody she's on screen with. I mean, I don't know if she would do it because she's been doing more of dramas and like Oscar type movies, but I think if she would, I think it'd be a perfect casting.
Hmm.
I just think it would work super well.
I can totally see that. Yeah.
I mean, I mean, they would just have to paint her green, and she would already look like the part, because she has like really bright blue eyes, and they look almost alien.
Hmm.
So I mean, I think that would work really well.
Yeah, for sure. Next, I have Doc Ock, and I think that Jeffrey Wright should play Doc Ock. And Jeffrey Wright is He's Beatty in the Hunger Games movies.
Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, but um, the way I see him performing is kind of like the Doc Ock in the Spider-Man PS4 game. I think he could
Hmm.
definitely pull off that kind of like really friendly, uh, mentor type character to Peter Parker, and um, I
Especially with Tom Holland Spider-Man, that would
yeah,
work really well.
for sure. Haven't really seen him in like an evil role, but I
Hmm.
definitely believe that that is something that he could pull off really well. I think it'd just be
Okay.
really interesting to see him as Doc Ock, and I mean, just thinking about it right now, like it gets me excited, and it's one of those casting choices where it's kind of like it's not quite to the level of like Richard Armitage as Wolverine, but it's like
Yeah.
I really want this dude to play Doc Ock. So,
Hmm. I mean, I think he could definitely pull it off. I've seen him in something else. I don't remember, but he's one of those actors that, I mean, oh, he was in Casino Royale. He was playing like an American spy agent. He could definitely pull off a really great Doc Ock. And I mean, I love the Doc Ock from the original Sam Raimi Spider-Man 2. But I mean, honestly, I feel like he could. It's kind of like to compare it back to Richard Armitage. I think he could do a performance that rivals
mm-hmm.
whatever his name is who plays the original Doc Ock. Like I think, especially for MCU and the MCU Spider-Man, he could definitely do a really good Doc Ock. And I mean, and if they want to take inspiration from the Spider-Man 4 game,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and he has to interact with Norman Osborn. Now, who did you cast Norman Osborn?
Not yet. He's next.
Okay. So I mean, if they can have a good rivalry, I mean, I think it'll work really well.
Yeah, and like Beatty in the Hunger Games, he's like a tech genius. So he can definitely like he knows how to play a smart character. So
Yeah.
Doc Ock wouldn't
Especially.
take a whole lot from him. It,
Hmm.
so
That's a really good choice. It's a choice that I wouldn't think of, but it's a choice that would really work.
mm-hmm. All right. So who do you have next?
Okay. Next I have. Okay. So in the first round, I casted Zac Efron as Nightwing, and like a week later, Zack Snyder revealed that the dead Robin costume that's in Batman v Superman that belongs to Dick Grayson, who is Nightwing. And it was something that really annoyed me, and I think it's disappointed a lot of people because Nightwing, I think besides Superman and Batman and like maybe the Flash, I think Nightwing is probably the most popular DC character. And I was trying to think of a way to get Nightwing back into the DCEU when I remembered a theory video that I watched back when Suicide Squad came out. Because in the background of the movie, uh, Scott Eastwood, who's an actor, he's the son of Clint Eastwood, is in the background of a scene, and he's like part of the army or whatever, or he's a prisoner or something. And I watched this video that was a theory that was talking about that maybe that was Dick Grayson, who's undercover because there's a comic series called Grayson where he fakes his death and he becomes a super secret spy for an agency known as Spiral. So I thought, what if, why not combine the Red Hood origin and that Grayson storyline and have it to where after Dick Grayson was killed, since like if we're gonna like in the movies, if they introduce Talia al Ghul and Ra's al Ghul, what if uh, what if after they thought Dick Grayson died, Talia al Ghul took the body of Dick Grayson and resurrected him in the Lazarus pit, and then he became like a spy for Spiral, and that's what Scott Eastwood was doing. He was undercover for Spiral, because Spiral, their purpose is to gain like secret identities of superheroes and villains. So I mean that would explain why he was in Suicide Squad,
Yeah.
and would make everything a little bit more linear. And also you would have Dick Grayson in the DCEU. So I mean this is just like a confirmation pick. Like yeah, we have Clint Eastwood or Scott Eastwood. I keep messing it up, but just like as a confirmation, like yeah, we have him, like he's ours, because I don't think he's rumored or anything to come back to play anyone. So I mean, it would just be like okay, come on back, like we have something for you now.
Mhm.
I mean, it's not like he's had a lot of roles that are his own roles. I mean, because I mean everyone knows him as Clint Eastwood's son, so I think that'd be really interesting for him to have a role like Nightwing or like Dick Grayson, just so he would have something to differentiate between him and his dad.
Yeah.
I think also he just looks the part, and he would do it really well.
Mhm. So next, Norman Osborn, the Green Goblin. I definitely think that Gary Oldman should play the Green Goblin. And like he's played bad guys a whole lot. Like that's one of his uh I guess defining roles as an actor is he's known for playing the villain. And he was in The Book of Eli, which he did a really good job in. And I really like him uh in oh shoot.
Didn't he play Commissioner Gordon
Yes.
in The Dark Knight?
That's what I was going to
He's
say.
really,
Commissioner Gordon.
he's really good in that.
Yeah, I really enjoy him in the Batman movies, and I think he's a great actor. So, and I think he could really pull off Norman Osborn really well. So,
Especially if he's going against your pick for Doc Ock. I think
yeah.
they would have a really good rivalry.
And I was thinking about having him play Doctor Doom, but I think Viggo Mortensen is definitely the best choice for Doctor Doom in that case. But
yeah, for sure.
I'm glad that I can cast Gary Oldman as another Marvel villain, and I think he'd do a whole lot better in this role than he would as Doctor Doom.
I think so as well. I think he would do really good. Next, I have Cillian Murphy as Two-Face. Now, on a lot of fan casts, they have like John Hamm as Two-Face. Well, the thing with John Hamm is that he doesn't really do a whole lot of like big blockbuster movies. But Cillian Murphy will. Like he was in Inception, he was in Batman Begins as Scarecrow, and I mean he's one of those actors that every time I see he surprises me. And the thing that really sold me on him playing Two-Face is the show Peaky Blinders, because he's the main character in that, and it's about like these like Irish gypsy gangsters in Birmingham, England, and there's like a part where he flips a coin, and I was like, man, he could be Two-Face. Like I think he would really make it work, because he can look suave and like be Harvey Dent and be like he's running for mayor of Gotham, and he could spar really well with Gerard Butler, because he has like a natural like chip on his shoulder angst, and that could work really well against Gerard Butler as Bruce Wayne. And he would look the part once they got him in the makeup for Two-Face, and I think he would just do such a great job. And he can do an American accent, so I mean that's not a problem for him.
Let's see. Next, I have Wonder Man, and this is one of those things where like I'm not sure if we've already casted this person, but I have Nathan Fillion. I can't remember if you casted him or not. Or
He's gonna
is he
be in
in?
Suicide Squad too.
Goodness gracious. But anyways,
And he's
he's.
totally wasted in
Mhm.
that movie because he's gonna be playing Arm Fall Off Boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, like he's been vocal about playing Wonder Man, and he's he's often said like how he wants to be in like a superhero movie as like an actual good character, you know,
Mhm.
rather than a wasted character like Arm Fall Off Man. But anyways, um, yeah, so he wants to play Wonder Man, and I think he could totally play that. He was in Firefly, right? Or
Yeah,
mhm,
he was the lead in Firefly.
mhm. So yeah,
He actually voiced Green Lantern in a couple animated movies.
really,
Mhm.
yeah. So
Uh, he would actually be my first choice to play Booster Gold if he wasn't gonna be in Suicide Squad too.
yeah,
Because he's a very comedic actor, and he has a lot of charisma, and I mean I think he could work with like as Booster Gold, as Wonder Man, as Green Lantern. He could work as like 5 different superheroes, and he would be great as all of them.
mhm, yeah,
Next I have Nicholas Holt as August Hart slash Godspeed. He's Godspeed is like a fairly new DC villain for the Flash, and I mean Nicholas Holt was like the runner up to play Batman for besides like Robert Pattinson. So it'd be like, okay, well, you don't get to play Batman. How about you want to come back and play a villain and for the Flash movie? So I mean, I think he would do a really good job because August Hart is supposed to be like Barry Allen's lab partner when he gets struck by lightning, and that's how he also gets his power. So I mean, I think it would just be really cool if Nicholas Holt came back and played a villain opposite of Donald Glover.
mhm. He's one of my favorite actors too. So
Hmm.
he's good in just about every single thing that I've seen him in. So I think he'd do a great job.
Yeah, he has really good range too. He's
Mhm.
just a solid actor.
For sure. Next I have Nightcrawler, and it was kind of difficult to figure out who to cast for Nightcrawler, but then once I figured it out, it was like a oh duh, why didn't I think of this guy in the first place? And that's Rami Malek, and I think he's a phenomenal actor. He was in, I think it was the Pacific, the like the World War II show, and he was really good in that. But I think he could really look like Nightcrawler, and he's got the acting chops to be that character too. So.
I mean, he was great as Freddie Mercury in Bohemian
Mhm.
Rhapsody. I mean, he was also really good in Night Museum when he
Mhm.
was playing like the Prince of Egypt or whatever. I mean, he also just has like a distinct look because of his jawline,
Mhm.
and with the blue makeup and everything, he definitely could do something special. I mean, it would be no problem for him to do like a German accent too.
Mhm. And he's one of those actors who will go to great lengths just to play one character. You know, like he'll do everything in his power to play that character to the best of his abilities. So.
Hmm. I mean, even just the physicality, because I mean, he moves like Freddie Mercury. Like if you watch like old Queen music videos and then you watch Bohemian Rhapsody, it's uncanny. It's kind of scary how much he looks and just how his body moves like Freddie Mercury. He's one of those actors that whenever he commits to it, he's fully committed.
Mhm.
So I mean, I don't think Nightcrawler would be too big of a problem for him. My next pick is Alden Ehrenreich as Kyle Rayner. Now, Alden Ehrenreich, he played Han Solo in like the Solo movie, He was also in a movie called Hail Caesar that was like about like old Hollywood, and he played a like a hill like he wasn't a hillbilly Billy, but he was like like an actor who was in a bunch of like Western movies. And I really like him. I think he's pretty good in everything he's in. And so I mean, they're not going to be making any more solo movies. So I mean, why not
Actually,
just
I
snatch him?
I heard some rumors that they're making a solo too.
See,
But
I don't think
I
that's
don't
going to
know.
happen.
It's just a rumor, so like take it with a grain of salt. But
Hmm. I mean, I would love for it to happen because I like Solo, but I really don't think that's going to happen.
yeah.
I mean, I really want it to because I really enjoy that movie, and I don't think it deserves the hate that it gets. Because I mean, it's just a fun adventure Star Wars
Mhm.
story. It's not supposed to be like a continuation of Luke Skywalker's story. It's just supposed to be like a prequel. It's just supposed to be like a Star Wars comic book or like a novel. You know, it's just supposed to be a fun adventure movie. And I mean, I think he got a lot of hate for that movie for no reason.
Well, I think part of that was, you know, because of The Last Jedi, because it was the movie that came right after that, and The Last Jedi kind of tore apart the whole fandom. But
Yeah, I think a lot of the hate that Solo got was just overlap from The Last Jedi. I mean, it also came out just a couple months after The Last Jedi, so I don't think that helped either. I think if it would have been released in like December, like the next year, December, I think it would be on, people would have it on the same level as like Rogue One. I think people would think it was better than Rogue One actually, but I think there's just so many negative emotions and thoughts that overlap into it
mhm.
that people do have this negative connotation of it. But I like Alden Heinrich. I think he's been great in everything that I've seen him in, and he definitely could play. He looks like, put him in the suit and he would look like Kyle Rayner Green Lantern. Like he can play like young, immature, like trying to learn the ropes. I mean, that was pretty much what Solo was about. And I really feel like he could play the part really well. And I think he would work really well off of Army Hammer and John Boyega. I think it would just work super well, and he
Mhm.
would bring something new to it. But yeah, that's my pick for
All right,
Kyle Rayner.
that's a good pick. I think I need to watch him in more movies because yeah, I didn't really like Solo. Like I agree with you that it's a fun like comic book type movie, but I didn't necessarily like it that much. But I
Mm-hmm.
did like like his performance in there. So, but anyways, my next character is Pyro, and I think Cameron Monaghan should play Pyro. Now uh, he's in Gotham, I'm pretty sure, and is like
Oh yeah.
the Joker. He's the Joker in that, right? Or,
They can't really call him the Joker in the show, so they call him like Jerome,
oh,
and he rivals like not Heath Ledger, but he rivals like Jack Nicholson in like in his performance of the Joker. It's
hmm.
really good.
He was also in Jedi Fallen Order, the video game that came out. Was it
Hmm.
a year or two ago?
Yeah,
But he does a
it
really good
was.
job in that. But I think he could really pull off Pyro, and Pyro's another one of those characters that I feel like uh, wasn't really given that big of a chance to shine in the previous
Hmm.
X-Men movies. But I think
Yeah,
Cameron Monaghan would do a really good job.
I think Cameron Monaghan is the most, not the most, but he's one of like the most underrated talents today. Like
For
just
sure, yeah.
young actors in general. I think he's just so underrated because I mean he's kind of like Rami Malek in the sense like whenever he commits to a part, he's committed all the way. Like I don't love Gotham, but I've seen I think I'm like halfway through season 2, and every time he's around, he's honestly he is so scary and unsettling as like Jerome or as the Joker. He's He's seriously, I think it's the best performance in the show by far.
Yeah, he's a great actor.
He's and I don't really like Fallen Order, but just his like voice acting and everything in general, I think is really good.
Hmm.
I think it might be my favorite part of the game. It's just seeing what he does next.
Yeah, I'd love to see him come into like a superhero movie. Like he doesn't have to be Pyro. He could just be any other character, and
Hmm.
I would just love to see him steal the show.
Oh, he definitely would. He would kind of be like Shuri or Gonki or whatever Spider-Man's best friend's name is, where he just steals every scene that he's in.
Hmm.
And I mean, it wouldn't even have to be a main character. It could just be a side character, and he could still steal the scene and steal the movie whenever he's in it.
For sure. So yeah, that's who I cast as Pyro.
Okay, so for my next pick, I'm picking Eddie Redmayne, and I want him to play the Scarecrow. Now,
Yeah.
Scarecrow is one of those villains that I feel like people don't take super seriously. Even in Batman Begins, he's not really that big of a threat. It really feels like, because I mean, what it seems like Batman's really worried about is Liam Neeson and like the League of Assassins, and I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's hard for people to take him seriously because I don't think there have been a lot of. You have to make Scarecrow look really creepy for people to take him seriously, and I think Eddie Redmayne has the acting chops
Oh, for sure.
and
Yeah.
he has the physicality to play Scarecrow because I think you need someone that can move in a very unnatural way, and Eddie Redmayne can do that because I mean in Fantastic Beasts he plays like a very hunched over, like hands in the pockets character as Newt Scamander.
Yeah, and he
I
was
think
he I can't remember what it's called, but it's like a hold on. I can't remember what the movie is called. It's The Theory of Everything. Yeah.
oh yeah, where he plays Stephen Hawking.
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, whenever he commits to being like the physicality of a character, he's he goes 110%. So it wouldn't be hard for him to move in a very creepy, unnatural way, and he's very like he can be very soft spoken, which combined with his physicality could make him very creepy and something that would be very unsettling for audiences, and I think he would just work. And I mean, even if you just look at him, he's more of like a slimmer guy by nature.
Mhm.
So I mean, it's kind of like Gollum, or I'm trying to think of something else that's creepier, but like he can move in a way that's gonna make you like make your skin crawl, and I think that's something that you really need for the character of the Scarecrow, especially if you want him to work in a movie that has like Gerard Butler Batman in it.
Mhm. I think he would be absolutely fantastic in that role. That's a really good choice. I really like
Yeah,
that
I
one.
mean, I it's annoying because he's doing such a great job in Fantastic Beasts, and it's not like Crimes of Grindelwald was that great. So why not? I mean, Warner Bros. Owns DC, so why not just move him over to the Batman franchise?
Mhm. Yeah. So next I have Sabretooth, and it was kind of difficult to find somebody who could have the physicality of Sabretooth and then also be able uh, to do the action sequences. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it'd be really cool to kind of dive deep into the rivalry between Sabretooth and the Wolverine in the movies because they
Mm-hmm.
kind of did that in the first X-Men movie, but it wasn't super fleshed out, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
He's one of those villains that he may not kill Wolverine, but Wolverine needs to be afraid to be close to anyone just
Mhm.
because he knows Sabretooth will come along. It's kind of like the Joker and Batman. Like,
Yeah.
Joker might not kill the Batman, but Batman is afraid to be close to anyone because the Joker will come after them. It needs to be like that. And I mean, since you casted someone to play Kitty Pryde, I mean, that could be a focal point from one of the movies, is that Sabretooth, or like Wolverine tells Kitty Pryde to not come along, but then like she does, and then Sabretooth like gets her or something, and I think that would be really cool.
Yeah. And oh, now that you kind of suggested that, that just sounds super cool. Like imagine uh Richard Armitage and then Natalia Dyer from Stranger Things,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have Sabretooth. Like not a kind of like, oh, it's just Sabretooth, but like, a really dangerous Sabretooth that you really fear for Wolverine whenever he's on screen. But
Mm-hmm.
that would be so
Because I mean,
cool.
he's not going to be leading the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. He's not
Right.
going to be ending the world, but he's going to make life a living hell for Wolverine.
Mhm.
And I think that's something that they really should have done back whenever Hugh Jackman was still Wolverine.
Mhm.
I mean, that's literally the plot of a movie. That could be a Wolverine movie.
Yeah. So, anyways, for Sabretooth, I have Adam Copeland. Um, and I think he would be able to best pull off the look of Sabretooth. I don't think he's been in too many movies. He's been like
He sounds familiar.
he's been in a spy movie. I think it's called an Interrogation, but he's a wrestler though, and so um, he wouldn't have any problem with the physicality or the action sequences. Like doing his own stunts and things like that. But I think the main. Go ahead.
Sabretooth should be like a mountain over Richard Armitage.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, if he's a wrestler, then I mean Dave Bautista used to be a wrestler too,
Mm-hmm.
and he's great as Drax. So I mean, especially if you have him playing as a villain against Richard Armitage, that would be really cool.
Mm-hmm. And he's got like 6 movies underneath his belt too. So, um, but the main thing is that I think they could definitely make him look like Sabretooth, and not this weird looking Sabretooth from the previous X-Men movies, but like a really fearsome looking Sabretooth that, like I said, would be able to rival Wolverine and really make us fear for the safety of those characters.
Mm-hmm. My next pick is Catherine Newton as Wonder Girl. Now, Catherine Newton is a fairly young actress, and she hasn't been in a whole lot of stuff. But the thing that I've seen her in, and I've known her from, is a TV show called The Society on Netflix, and it's about this small town, and all the grown-ups disappear. So these teenagers have to create a society within the small town with just the teenagers that are there, and she plays like a leader, and she's the lead of the show, and that show has the best young cast of any TV show like in from recent memory. And she's really great in it, and she plays like a very strong, confident character who can hold her own against pretty much anyone. And I think Catherine Newton would just be great to play Wonder Girl, and I think it'd be just so interesting to see her go be with Gal Gadot and be mentored by Wonder Woman.
Mhm.
And I mean, I think she looks like Wonder Girl, anyways. And especially if she's also interacting with Saoirse Ronan as like Miss Martian, and she's interacting with the rest of the younger superheroes like Caleb McLaughlin as Kid Flash, I think she would do really well.
Next is Toad, and I'm pretty proud of who I've casted for Toad, and that is Moises Arias. I don't know if I probably butchered that, but he's in Ender's Game. I know for sure. He's kind of the one dude who opposes the main character in there. What else is he in? He's in The Kings of Summer, which is he's so funny in that movie. Every time he, oh my goodness. He's just so good in that movie. Every time he appears, I just laughed every time he was on screen. I believe he was in Hannah Montana when he was younger. But I think he could definitely look the part. And in Kings of Summer, he's that weird kind of misfit kid. He's not really part of the friend group at first. He kind of just tags along and invites himself in. But it doesn't take long for him to become part of the friend group. But he's just so weird in that movie, and it plays out for the best comedic moments, and he absolutely steals the show. It's great. I really want to watch that movie again, like at a groovy movie night or something. I think we would get a ton of laughs just from his character alone. But anyways, that's who I pick for Toad.
Okay, I don't really know who you're talking about, but I'd be down to watch him and stuff. I mean, Toad is oddly enough plays like a pretty big part in like the Wolverine and the X-Men cartoon. So I mean,
here, look him up real quick.
What's his name?
Moises Arias. It's Moises, like Moses, but with an I. And then Arias, Arias. But yeah, he's absolutely fantastic in The Kings of Summer. Yes.
I know who this is. I know who this is.
I think he would play an amazing Toad.
He looks like Toad. He literally looks like Toad. That's so weird.
Yeah, I think he would be absolutely perfect.
That's funny. Yeah, he would. Yep. He looks the part. He definitely could play it. Yeah. Moises Arias is Toad.
I mean, I would watch a standalone movie just about Toad specifically if this guy was casted as Toad.
Can you imagine, like, if in 10 years or whatever, like, he gets cast as Toad, and, like, Watch Mojo makes it, like, a top 10 best actor performances in a superhero movie, and number 2 is like, Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, and number 1 is him as Toad. Can you imagine?
Yes, I can't imagine that.
Okay, so, anyways, my next pick is, I don't know if we've casted, if anyone has picked her already, but I want Maya Hawke from Stranger Things. I want her to play Raven.
Yes. Yes.
She definitely could. She's able to have charisma with people. She's a very charming actress to watch. She has really good line delivery, and she could really work if like they do a Young Justice style show or a movie or like Titans. She looks the part. She could definitely do it easily. She could act like she's half demon. She definitely could do it, and it's one of those that like when I didn't really know who would play or who could play Raven, because I didn't want to be like, oh, Millie Bobby Brown
Yeah.
is Raven. I didn't want to pick her, and I was like, you know who's a better actress in that show? Maya Hawke. And
Mhm.
so
I think she would do a fantastic job in that. Like that's one of the just based on that casting choice alone, I would watch any movie, any show that she's in.
hmm she's just so great in Stranger Things. She
For
might
sure, yeah.
be, I think, second to Steve, she is my favorite Stranger Things character.
Yeah.
Uh, but anyways, yep, I think she'd really work really great, especially against Scott Eastwood as Dick Grayson and like Caleb MacLachlan as Kid Flash. And I don't know. I think she would just really, I think she would just bring something totally new that we haven't seen before. I mean, there's a Raven in the Titans show that the DC streaming app came out with, but I've heard that show isn't very good. And I mean, I think Maya Hawke could really turn the character around.
Mhm. Yeah, I would love to see her as Raven. That would be really good. But anyways, next, this this was definitely one of the hardest characters to cast, just because uh, his previous portrayal was just absolutely perfect, and that's Daredevil, Charlie Cox's Daredevil.
Oh yeah.
And goodness gracious, I went back and watched the first episode of Daredevil,
Mhm.
and Charlie Cox is just amazing. And
He really is.
I really don't want to recast Daredevil. I really wish that Charlie Cox would come back and be Daredevil again, just because, I mean, I can't say it enough just how perfect he is for the character of Daredevil.
And he totally would. He's said before that he wants to come back. Like
Mm,
I in an interview when they first canceled Daredevil, he was like, I don't know why they canceled it. I thought we had a lot more stories to tell.
mm-hmm.
And he's literally up there with Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man and like Moises Arias as Toad and like Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. Like he's up there, I think, with the best performances as a comic book character.
For sure, without a doubt.
hmm
I think he could easily go toe to toe against Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, like for being the best portrayal. Um, but anyways, so yeah, it was super difficult to find an actor that could go toe to toe with Charlie Cox. Um, but I've come down to two who I think could portray Daredevil. Maybe not as good as Charlie Cox, but good enough where, you know, everybody's not hating on them for doing I don't want to say like a worse job, but not as good of a job as Charlie Cox would.
hmm
And the whole thing with these two actors, I have two actors because, like, I know we talked about it before, Darwin, but you said, like, who's an actor that we could see being Daredevil and be in the same universe and have, you know, scenes with Tom Holland's Spider-Man. So
Yeah.
it's not going to be as dark as the Netflix show, but it still can't be too lighthearted, you know.
Because I mean, the thing with the Netflix series, like the reason why they could go so dark, and I mean, for the longest time, they were considered to be part of the MCU, and they were able to go dark because they were on Netflix, and not everyone was going to watch them. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
only like if you were like a casual fan, you might watch it, but I mean, you had usually the people who watched it were pretty hardcore fans. I mean, because they weren't being released in the movie theaters, and it was on a smaller. Well, Netflix isn't small, but it was on like a streaming site. I mean, they could go dark with it. They had the freedom to do what they wanted, and to tell their story. So I mean, now you can't, because I mean, people have said before, oh, Charlie Cox should be in a movie with Tom Holland Spider-Man, but
Yeah.
I don't think that would work. Charlie Cox plays too much of a darker Daredevil. He plays more of I don't remember who wrote it, but like a more of he because Daredevil in the comic books is either very dark or he's a very lighthearted, is making quips while he's fighting crime character.
Mm-hmm.
And Charlie Cox is very much playing a darker Daredevil, and that type of Daredevil works best whenever he's alone, or maybe he's going up against the Punisher. And I mean, that's what they did with this show, you know, and that kind of Daredevil I just don't think would work going up with Tom Holland or even like Chris Pratt as Star-Lord. Like, I just don't think would work as well as people think it would.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's tonal whiplash. Because I mean, you can't have I mean, you could, but it's like, okay, so in the Daredevil show, Wilson Fisk beats someone's head in with a car door, and then he's going up against Spider-Man the next day. I mean, whenever we talked about villains, we talked about like Wilson Fisk, but that I don't think that show can fit in the MCU just because of how dark it is.
Mm-hmm.
Because the MCU is very much targeted towards families, and Charlie Cox's Daredevil I don't think would be able to fit in with Tom Holland as Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Which is sad and disappointing, but I mean, Kevin Feige doesn't consider that to be part of the MCU because he didn't work on it. So I mean, I think it's gonna have to be recasted.
Right. And the other thing is finding a actor who can commit to it so much that they can portray a blind person, because that's one of the things that Charlie Cox, that's what makes him such an amazing actor to play Daredevil, is that he fully commits to the part of being blind.
I mean, when I first started watching Daredevil, I thought he was blind.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he just does it so convincingly. Like, you honestly believe that he is blind, and I don't know, he's just so convincing that you actually do think he is blind.
Right. So yeah, it was difficult to figure out who to recast Daredevil as, but I've come down to two, and the reason for having two is one of them is to portray a more lighthearted version of Daredevil that could be in the same kind of scenes as Tom Holland's Spider-Man. And then the other is a more darker version, maybe not as dark as Charlie Cox, but who could definitely portray a darker version of Daredevil. So the lighthearted version is Aidan Turner. And Aidan Turner, he's Killy in the Hobbit movies.
Yeah.
And so I think he could definitely do like the, saying quips while in a fight and stuff like that. And I think he looks like Daredevil too. Like, if you put him in the suit, he would look pretty similar to the Charlie Cox version of Daredevil. But I think he could do a really good job in that role. I haven't seen him in anything other than The Hobbit though, but I really do enjoy his performance as Killy. So yeah. And then the second actor, the more darker version of Daredevil, I think Daniel Radcliffe would do an amazing job, because he does like a whole bunch of darker movies where he's a darker character, so that it won't be too tasking on him to act as Daredevil. But I also think that he could. I mean, it just depends on the writing, but if necessary, he could also pull off like a lighter, less dark kind of Daredevil. So.
I mean, I mean, I'm kind of like you. I haven't seen Aiden Turner in a lot of stuff, so I don't know if he has that commitment to being like a blind man. I feel like Daniel Radcliffe does,
Oh, for sure, yeah.
and I think because I mean, Daniel Radcliffe wanted to play Spider-Man back whenever they were recasting to put him in the MCU. And I think Daniel Radcliffe has just grown so much as an actor since Harry Potter, and I think Daniel Radcliffe would work better as Daredevil than he would as Wolverine, like a lot of people have suggested. I think he, like you said, he can go dark, but he can also go lighthearted.
Mm-hmm.
I just think he would work. I think he's the better choice, but I feel like I would really want to see a audition tape of Aiden Turner
Mm-hmm.
first.
So yeah, that's my choices. Those are my choices for Daredevil, and I do think Daniel Radcliffe would be the better one. But
Mhm.
like you said, I don't think Aiden Turner would do a bad job in it. Like, definitely would want to see an audition tape on that.
Like he would be good for the MCU,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense. I mean, I I I'm very attached to Charlie Cox, but it's one of those things that like this works within the movie series.
Right.
Like uh like Falcon. I Falcon is one of those characters I don't know a whole lot about, and I've read him in a couple comic books, but I mean, Anthony Mackie plays a very good Falcon, and it works very well within the series. And I think Aiden Turner would be the same way with Daredevil.
Mm-hmm.
And for those of you listening, this is something that we had very extensive talks about, and like we came up with like several different actors, and like we talked for a very long time, and like comparing them. And so I mean, this wasn't an easy, like we just picked names out of a hat. Like this is something that we worked on for a while.
And spent hours trying to figure it out. So, or at least I did. But yeah, I spent long truck rides trying to figure out who should I cast as Daredevil. But anyways,
I mean, like whenever we were talking about it, and we are like talking about like different actors, I was like, wouldn't that be crazy if they casted Hayden Christensen as Daredevil? I wonder what would happen.
that would
I
be an
mean,
interesting choice. And I
it's one of
think,
those things that like I want to see an audition tape, but I don't know if I'd want it in a movie.
yeah, I think I'd want Aiden Turner more than Hayden Christensen, but I definitely think that, Hayden Christensen has matured a lot since, the Star Wars prequels.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely do think he, like, if he's returning in the Kenobi series, I think everybody's going to be surprised at his acting whenever he comes back to portray Anakin Skywalker. So I definitely think he's built up his acting skills and would be able to do well in that position. Um, but yeah, like you said, I'd want to see an audition tape before, fully committing to him being that character. Uh, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so my next pick is Anna De Armas as Jessica Cruz, who's another Green Lantern. Now, Anna De Armas is a very young actress. I know her from Knives Out, which I think is has been her first big role in a movie, and she's just so great in that movie. Her performance, it's weird because that movie has a lot of very good talent, like Daniel Craig, Chris Evans, and a couple more other really big actors. And I think she by far has the best performance in this show.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I think it's only a matter of time before she gets cast in a superhero movie or show. Like I think it's only like a matter of time, and I think the best role for her would be Jessica Cruz because she looks the part, and she also I just think she could pull. I think she could pull off pretty much anything if she wanted to.
Yeah.
And I think it would be really interesting to see her interact with Alden Ehrenreich and like Armie Hammer and John Boyega, and I think she would just do a great job, no matter what.
All right. So next, I have Luke Cage, and I think Chad Coleman. Although I don't know. This is one of those casting choices where I'm kind of iffy about, but it's one of those choices where like the reason that I picked him is because I'm just so interested to see what he would do in that role. And that's yeah. So Chad Coleman as Luke Cage, and Chad Coleman he plays Tyrese in The Walking Dead. Is the main thing that I know him from. Tyrese doesn't come in until season 3, like towards the end of it. But he's one of those characters who, like, he's one of my favorite characters in The Walking Dead. He can be real lighthearted and caring, but then at the same time, he can also be like really scary and just a brute force. And he does a really good job going between the two. So I think he could do a great job as Luke Cage, and I'd really want to see what he would do in that role.
See, I like Luke Cage, and I like him better whenever he's with Iron Fist.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, if him and whoever you pick for Iron Fist have really good chemistry, then I'm down for it.
Mm-hmm.
My next pick is Shailene Woodley as Poison Ivy. Now, I've been like kind of tossing this pick around since the first draft because it's something that I want. It's a pick that I wanted, but I didn't know when I should do it because there always seemed like there was picks that were more important. And I think Shailene Woodley has really grown since Divergent and a lot of the other stuff that she was in whenever she was younger. And I was contemplating putting her as Batwoman, but I think the role that would be better for her is Poison Ivy, because we haven't had a live action Poison Ivy since Uma Thurman, and I think she could really pull it off, and I think she looks the part. I mean, she also was going to play Mary Jane in the Amazing Spider-Man movies, but her scenes got deleted. So it'll be like, okay, it's kind of like Olivia Munn, where it's like, okay, well, you didn't get your time to shine over at Marvel, why not come over here and play a part that's going to be bigger?
Right.
So I think she would just do such a great job with it.
Yeah, I agree with that. So next is obviously Iron Fist, because I mean, like you said, Luke Cage is a whole lot more entertaining when he's with Iron Fist. And so for Iron Fist, I have Ryan Philippe or Felipe. I don't know exactly how to pronounce it, but he looks a whole lot like I would imagine Iron Fist looks like. He's not too far off from the Netflix show, that kind of look. But I definitely think he looks more the part than I don't even know who portrayed Iron Fist in the Netflix show. I didn't really care for it that much. But he's
that Iron Fist doesn't feel like the Iron Fist that is in the comics and the cartoons. Which
Mhm.
like I'm okay if they change characters to make it a better fit for the movies. But I mean, as long as they have like the essence of the character, then I don't mind. And he did not feel like Iron Fist.
Mhm.
He was angsty and didn't know like basic boundaries of for people, and it was weird. And it's not like him and the original actor for Luke Cage had tons of chemistry, because there were several scenes in Defenders where you could tell that they were wanting to like hint at doing like a Heroes for Hire show,
Mhm.
but I don't know, it always seemed to miss the mark.
But yeah, he's in The Lincoln Lawyer with Matthew McConaughey. And he's got a pretty big filmography. It's a lot of movies that I haven't watched, but I mean, there's quite a bit of films here. So I definitely think he's got the experience. And, with so many movies, that's plenty of different roles to portray. Um, so I think he would be pretty good as Iron Fist. I haven't seen him in anything. Um, but like I said, you know, he has the experience. So, and
Mm-hmm.
he looks like Iron Fist too. So,
Yeah, I pulled up a picture of him, and he looks like he looks more like Iron Fist than the original guy who played him.
mhm,
Like I imagine the yellow mask on him, and even just like his jawline looks more like an Iron Fist than
mhm.
the original. Uh, um, my next pick is Kirsten Stewart as Batwoman. Now, Kirsten Stewart is known for being in the Twilight movies, and she's been trying to like rebuild her brand after that. So, I mean, she's been in quite a few different movies playing different characters, so I think it would just be interesting to kind of be like, okay, well, you're an actress who needs something new and something big. Why not come over to DC and play a big superhero? Like, you're gonna be your own independent character, and I don't know, I think it'd be interesting to just see what happens and how fans react, and also how well, or just to see what would happen whenever she's put in this opportunity, or whenever she's given this opportunity. And I think people would actually be surprised on how well she would do.
Mhm.
It's like I'm all like, during, if you've noticed in the draft, I'm all about giving like actors and actresses like a second chance on a role that might be better for them than what they got originally.
Mhm.
So I mean, I don't know, I think would work. She also looks like the character, so I mean that's not really a problem. So I think it'd just be interesting just to see what would happen.
Yeah. Um. So next is Colleen Wing, and I I think Colleen Wing in the Netflix Iron Fist show was pretty good. I enjoyed her a lot more than I enjoyed, you know, Iron Fist.
She's
Um,
easily the best character.
yes. So it was kind of difficult to find somebody to cast as Colleen Wing. Um, and I'm not necessarily confident in the recast that I've chosen, but that's just because I haven't seen anything that the person that I picked is in recently. Um, and that's Kelsey Chow, and she was in Pair of Kings on Disney XD. She was like
Mm-hmm.
one of the guardians of the kings or whatever. Um, but she plays like a tough girl and is always carrying around a machete with her, and I think she looks the part for Colleen Wing, and because she has a machete in Pair of Kings was another reason that I picked her for Colleen Wing. But like it's one of those things where it's like a Disney actor who isn't necessarily in a whole bunch of things right now, or at least that I know of. Um, but that's just because of being a Disney actor. So I think it's one of those times where they deserve like a chance to be brought back into the spotlight, you know. Um, and I think she could do a good job. I don't know how well she's matured acting wise, um, but you know the way it goes is with time and more experience, people tend to mature. So I think if given the opportunity, she could do a good job.
Yeah, that'd be definitely interesting to see. Um, okay. So, for my next pick, now this is a role or like a character that I've wanted to cast since the first draft, but I just could not figure out who was the right pick and who was the right fit. And I think now that I've gotten it, and it's for the character of Booster Gold. Now, originally I wanted to cast Nathan Fillion, but then I found out he's going to be in Suicide Squad 2, and so then I was like, okay, what about Joel McHale, like Jeff from Community? Well, it turns out he's going to be in a show. He's in the show called Stargirl, which is a DC like superhero show, and so that was really frustrating. So then I just Googled who should play Booster Gold, and I looked through tons of lists, and the one that stuck out to me the most is an actor and comedian named Andy Samberg.
Yeah,
Now, Andy Samberg, I recognized him because of like Saturday Night Live, and he's been in a couple different like comedies.
he's in
Uh,
Brooklyn Nine-Nine, isn't he?
yeah, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and actually saw a clip of him on Instagram of like a scene from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and that's what sold me on it because I was kind of on the fence, and I was like, yeah, this guy could definitely be Booster Gold. This guy could
Mm-hmm.
definitely pull it off, and he's a funny actor. He has charisma, and he has good line delivery. So I mean, I think it's a safe bet, but it's one of those things that if written well, it could rival like Robert Downey Jr. and Charlie Cox and all of them. It's one of those that would be up there like
Moises
in the top
Arias.
10. Yes, of course. We can't forget him because he is Toad. But I mean, he's one of those actors that I mean, if treated right, he would definitely be able to be up in that like the top 10 list of the best performances, I think.
Mm-hmm. So next, I have Jessica Jones, and I never really watched Jessica Jones. I saw her in like a few episodes of Defenders because I didn't watch the whole show. I just watched a few episodes of it. But I feel like that's another one of those actors who did a really good job in their part. Um, and so it was kind of difficult to find somebody who I think could replace her. Um, but the person that I am gonna recast her as is Ashley Greene, and she was in Twilight and uh, what else? Skateland. Um, it looks like. I thought that looked like a spy movie, but maybe it's not. Um, but anyways, I haven't seen her in any movies, but I think she looks the part. And I mean, she doesn't have a huge filmography, but there's a decent amount of movies that she's got under her belt. So I think, given a chance, because like some people like the Twilight movies and then some people don't, and that's just one of those things where maybe you could give like an actor another chance to prove their worth. So,
Mm-hmm.
anyways, that's who I have for Jessica Jones.
Okay. My next pick, since you can't have Booster Gold without Blue Beetle, I picked William Jackson. Now, William Jackson is in a show called The Good Place. Uh, I can't remember the character that he plays, but he's one of the main characters in the show, and he plays like in life he was a philosophy teacher, and he's constantly worried about what's right, what's wrong, and how to be like a better person. And he gets very flustered very easily. He's one of that's like one of his biggest character traits and everything. And I think with Andy Samberg, it would just be he would be great because William Jackson can play intellect and he has like really good comedic timing. So I mean, if you just put him and Andy Samberg in a movie as Booster Gold and Blue Beetle, or even if you do like little short clips like before a movie of like a comedic sketch of them, I think it'd be absolutely amazing. And
Mm-hmm.
I think everyone would die of laughter just because of their dynamic. I think it'd just be so great.
Yeah.
But
Let's see. Okay, so next is Elektra, and I think Katrina Law should play Elektra. I was gonna cast Olivia Moon as Elektra, but you already picked her, and then I thought her being in Apocalypse um, was a little too recent, you know. Um, but Katrina Law was the next.
that sounds familiar, Katrina Law.
Yeah. Um, she's an Arrow.
Okay, yeah, I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, but she looks like Elektra, and being an Arrow, she's already got that superhero experience. So, I think she could play Elektra.
I mean, the thing with Elektra is, I mean, she just she has to be able to kick butt, and she has to be able to have a really good chemistry with, like Daniel Radcliffe as Daredevil.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, then it should work. Um, so, first off, how did you feel about the Elektra in the Daredevil show?
I think she was really cool. I really enjoyed watching her, and especially in like the scenes with Charlie Cox. Like I think the chemistry that they had worked really well. Um, I always wanted to see more of Elektra in the show. Um, so yeah.
Yeah, I think she did a really good job. I think the scenes that didn't have Charlie Cox were a little bit weak because he didn't
Yeah.
really have, like you said,
The chemistry.
And like that chemistry is really what carries those scenes. But yeah. Okay, so my next pick is for Starfire. Now, the thing with my pick for Starfire is that I don't know, she might be a little too young, especially since Maya Hawke is like 23 probably, and Scott Eastwood is like in his 30s, so they wouldn't be able to have like a relationship or anything. But I mean, besides that, I think she'd be great, and I think Rowan Blanchard would be great as Starfire, especially if they wanted to do more of like the original Teen Titans cartoon show.
Mm-hmm.
Because Rowan Blanchard plays like the main girl in like Girl Meets World.
Yeah.
And she's really good in that. And she always has like this quirkiness and energy in every scene that she's in.
For sure, yeah.
I mean, and I think that's the better way to go if you're gonna do Starfire. Because like in the comic books, she's not really that interesting. It's not like she has super great chemistry with a lot of the characters, but in that original Teen Titans show, she's absolutely great, and she's one of the best characters in the show. Not just because she has a lot of depth, but just because she's funny, and she has really cute and fun interactions with everyone. And I just think Rowan Blanchard would be able to do that so well.
Yeah, I can definitely see her as Starfire. That's a good cast. And I wouldn't have expected that too.
She doesn't done a whole lot of stuff either. So I mean, I feel like she would be down to do it anyway. It's because I think in real life she's like 17, maybe, or she's like 18 or 19. She's pretty young. I feel like she'd be really down to do it. And I just think she would just do such a great job.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's one of those picks where I wouldn't expect that. But now that you pointed out, I think that's a really good pick.
I mean, it's kind of like what you were saying earlier about like a Disney star who hasn't really had a whole lot to do. So I mean, I think she would do great in it.
Yeah, for sure. So next is Foggy Nelson. And Foggy Nelson, it kind of stumped me on who to cast as Foggy. But then when I figured it out, I was like, yes, this is absolutely who should play Foggy Nelson, and that's Casey Affleck. But I mean, I think Casey Affleck is definitely underrated. He's a really good actor, and I don't think he gets as much, like being underneath Ben Affleck's shadow. Yeah, I don't think he gets enough credit for being such a good actor, and I think he could definitely pull off Foggy Nelson. He kind of looks like the Foggy from the Netflix show. He's a little skinnier, but I don't think that really matters a whole lot.
See, that'd be really funny because Ben Affleck played not Batman. He played Daredevil back in like 2003, so that'd be like a really funny connection to have. But yeah, I mean, from what I've heard, I think he could pull off whatever he wanted. Especially if you have like Daniel Radcliffe, and I mean, Daniel Radcliffe is like one of those actors that can have pretty good chemistry with just about anybody. I mean, if Casey Affleck, from what I've heard, is a really good actor, so I mean that shouldn't be a problem for them to be best friends.
Yeah, I mean, I really wanted to cast Casey Affleck as, one of the more prominent characters in the Marvel universe. Just because I think it's definitely time for him to have one of those roles that puts him out there in the spotlight. Which, I mean, I'm not saying that he hasn't had a role like that, because Manchester by the Sea, I mean, he's the leading role in that, and I've watched part of it. I haven't gotten around to finishing it, but I've heard that it's a pretty good movie. But I don't know. When I thought of Casey Affleck as Foggy Nelson, I just couldn't get it out of my head. So.
I mean, Foggy Nelson in the Netflix show isn't the best character by a long shot, but I mean, he is one of those characters that whenever he does appear, and he's sharing a scene with Karen or Matt, and he works better whenever he's around other actors to bounce off of. And sometimes his jokes aren't that funny, but I mean, sometimes he does have those little nuggets of comedy that is actually pretty good. So, for my next pick, okay, so all throughout the draft, I've had like Liam Hemsworth as like a backup for a bunch of castings, and so I thought it's finally time to like set it in stone and finally cast him as someone, and I want him to play Captain Atom. Now, Captain Atom is one of those characters that not a lot of people really know about. Like, if you're even like a lot of diehard fans of like DC Comics, like have heard of him, and like he will appear in Justice League in the background and stuff. And I mean, it's not really like he's ever really had the spotlight. So I mean, if they do bring him into the movies, I think it'd be a good idea to cast an actor who's noticeable but isn't the biggest actor out there, and I think Liam Hemsworth fits the bill pretty well, because I mean, everyone recognizes who he is, and everybody knows him as like Chris Hemsworth's little brother, but it's not like he's had any defining roles. I think Captain Atom is a role that would be great for him because Captain Atom is supposed to be like his character is like a criminal, and he was told that if he did like this government test that he'd get out of jail early, and the test goes wrong or whatever, and he gets his superpowers and everything. So I mean, I think Hemsworth could easily pull off a role like that, and he would look the part too once they made him like silver and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would just work really well.
Yeah. So next I have Karen Page, and I think Samara Weaving should play Karen Page. And that's another one of those actors who I haven't really seen in movies before, but I think she could definitely look the part. And she's been in a movie with Daniel Radcliffe already. It's Guns Akimbo, which is a newer movie, and I haven't gotten around to seeing it yet. But her and Daniel Radcliffe are like the main characters in it. So they've already been in a movie together. So I don't know what their chemistry looks like in that movie. But I think them already having that experience together definitely would help. So I think I think she kind of looks like Karen Page too. So that's who I choose, Samara Weaving.
Okay, my next pick he's also from the Society show. His name is Jakku Coleman. I think that's how you say his name. And he plays like the best friend of like Catherine Newton's character, and he's a really good actor. He's one of the best actors in the show, and I want him to play Static Shock. And like Static Shock is a fan favorite character. If you're familiar with like DC Comics, you probably know who he is. He had a cartoon show a long time ago, and it's not really like he's been up to a whole lot here lately. So I think it'd be really interesting to have him come back with a movie, especially since movies like even like TV shows like Black Lightning and Black Panther, and then like Static Shock is a very he's a very proud African American character, and so I think that would just work really well. And you have a very talented young actor that is Jakku Coleman, and I think it would just work really well. And I feel like it would almost feel like Spider-Verse because of just the vibe that Static Shock has, and I feel like it would just work so well.
Next is Hellcat, and I think I have two people for this character, and that's Johanna Watts. She doesn't have a huge filmography, and the movies that she's in I haven't seen, but I think she looks a lot like Hellcat. She's got the red hair, and I think if you put her in the mask, she would look. I mean, it would be almost uncanny. And then the other option is Emma Stone.
I already casted
Right.
Stone in the first round.
I forgot about that. But anyways, I think Johanna Watts. I mean, she's a lesser known actor too, which is kind of what I'm looking for, to get those people into the spotlight. So that's who I'll choose for Hellcat.
Okay. My next pick is for a character named Wildcat, and he's in the Justice League cartoon. He trained Black Canary and he was like this famous boxer character, and he shows up in Justice League Unlimited, and by that point he's like pretty old, because I mean I think in like the comic books he was in the Justice Society, and that was a team back in like the 40s and the 50s. So I mean, if they did a movie now, they would need an older actor, a more seasoned actor. But I'm gonna choose Carl Urban.
Mhm.
He was my backup for Constantine, but I feel like Carl Urban has that gruffness and could have the physicality of a retired boxer, and I think
Mhm.
he would do really well with uh, the actress for Black Canary, whether it's Diane Kruger, the Black Canary that I picked, or the one from Birds of Prey. Because I mean, Carl Urban has been in quite a few of like more like nerdy movies, like Lord of the Rings, Thor Ragnarok, Star Trek, and like one of the things that I like the most about him in the Star Trek movies is his chemistry with Chris Pine
Mhm.
and with the actor who plays Spock. And I think he would just do really well as Wildcat. And it would bring to life a more lesser known and a more underrated character. And I think it'd be a very good decision.
Mhm.
I was I was thinking about casting Sylvester Stallone just because, Rocky and
Mhm.
everything, but I don't know, I thought it might be better to not have to rely on because he's iconic as Rocky, and I thought it'd be better not to have to rely on that
Mhm.
and maybe give someone else a shot.
Yeah. Okay, so next I have Purple Man, and I think Andrew Scott. He plays Moriarty, um, in Sherlock Holmes. I think it's the TV show with Benedict Cumberbatch.
He's great.
Yes.
I think he almost rivals Benedict Cumberbatch as like the best performance of the show.
Mhm. Um. So yeah, I think he could be Purple Man.
hmm Um, yeah, for sure. I mean, he's already so great as Moriarty in the show. I don't think it'd be a stretch for him to play Purple Man.
Yeah.
My next pick. So there have been a lot of rumors going around that they're gonna cast Michael B. Jordan as Val-Zod Superman, which is a alternate reality Superman. And the thing is with that, like if we're going by like the rules for this draft, I couldn't be able to cast Michael B. Jordan because he was in Black Panther, and that doesn't fit like the time restraint. So I picked someone that I don't think anyone would expect, but his name is Alfred Enoch, and he played Dean Thomas in the Harry Potter movies.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, and he's been playing. My sister has been watching this show like about lawyers or whatever. It's a drama, and he's in the show. So I mean, he's busy doing stuff, and like I've seen like little bits of the show, and the stuff that he's in, is like really good. Like he's doing a good job. So I mean, why not? Michael B. Jordan isn't gonna have a problem finding new roles to play,
Right.
but why not just give Alfred Enoch a try? I feel like he definitely could pull it off. He would have to, like every actor who's in a superhero movie, he'd have to work out and everything. But I think he would do a really great job with it.
Mhm.
And also, if he's with Henry Cavill or Ellie Fanning as Supergirl, I think it would work really well. And I think it's something that nobody would see coming, but then would work out and would be a fan favorite character.
Yeah. Um. Okay, so next is Kingpin, and D'Onofrio did a really good job in the Netflix Daredevil show. Like that's another one of those performances that's just absolutely top notch, but definitely too dark for the MCU. So I think Michael Chiklis would be a good choice to play Kingpin. He looks the part, and I don't think I've seen any of the movies he's in, but there's quite a bit of popular ones there. So I think he could definitely pull off Kingpin.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen him in anything too, but I know the name.
Mm-hmm.
His name sounds familiar.
So,
Okay,
okay,
go
yeah,
ahead.
never mind.
Okay, so next I have Rachel McAdams as Carol Ferris. Now, Carol Ferris is Hal Jordan's love interest, but she also turns into a Pink Lantern in the comic books. And Rachel McAdams was in Doctor Strange and played the love interest,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think she's coming back. And she's such a talented actress in everything she's in, and she's just so great. And it's like Marvel is wasting her, so why not just get her to play Carol Ferris? I mean, it's kind of like Olivia Munn situation again, where it's like, okay, well, you didn't have everything. You weren't treated how you should have been by Marvel. How about come over to us and you'll get to play you'll get to play a love interest, and then at some point you'll probably be leading a movie or have a big part to play in the movies. And I
Right.
think she looks the part. She could have the right chemistry with Armie Hammer as Green Lantern, and I just think would work really well.
I can definitely see that. Yeah.
She's definitely one of those actresses that has really good chemistry, whoever she's with. Like, I just watched this really crappy movie on Netflix with my family called Eurovision, and it's like a comedy with Will Ferrell where they play these singers from Iceland or whatever. And I don't think Will Ferrell is that funny. Like, even in Elf, like, I just don't think he's a funny actor. But Rachel McAdams saves that movie. Like, I don't like the movie, but Rachel McAdams is by far the best part of the movie.
Mm-hmm. All right, so these next ones should be the last ones, right? 26.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, like 25th, 26th pick.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so my last pick for the superhero cinematic draft is Orlando Bloom as Bullseye. And I think Orlando Bloom could do a really good job as Bullseye. You know, because I don't know, I think Legolas would be a pretty good assassin. Just saying. So, but I know Orlando Bloom's been in plenty of other movies as well, and he's just such a good actor too. I don't think he'd have much trouble pulling off an assassin like Bullseye.
Now, the only requirement that he has to do in a Daredevil movie is he has to surf on like a skateboard or something
Yes.
down some steps and then throwing a card or something to assassinate someone. That's the
Mm-hmm.
only requirement. I think he could do a good job. I mean, I think he's one of those actors that people forget that he exists until they start thinking about like Pirates of the Caribbean
Mm-hmm.
or Lord of the Rings. I mean, he's a very talented actor. I mean, it's also one of those things that they casted him. I don't think anybody would have a problem with it because he's just so good in everything he does.
Yeah. I think he would make a really good Bullseye.
Especially if he's going up against like Daniel Radcliffe, that'd be very interesting to
Mm-hmm.
watch.
And I think he would work against Daniel Radcliffe or Aiden Turner. Like either of those actors, I think he could go up against.
He could definitely go dark, like very dark with it too.
Mm-hmm. He could go either way.
Okay, so this is is this our last pick?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm surprised you did he cast this guy, especially because there's been so many rumors with him that Marvel wants him to play a hero at some point or a villain, and that's Keanu Reeves. And why not just because he hasn't committed to anything yet?
Right.
Why not go over and snatch him? Because I want him to play the Question. The Question is one of those characters that is like a fan favorite, but like not everyone really knows who he is because he's, I think, like besides Batman, he is the best detective in the DC universe, and it's also something that'd be like a smaller scale movie and a smaller part. I think that's something that Keanu Reeves would rather do than play some really big, huge part. I mean, that's just what I think would happen, and he would just do so good as the Question. I also considered making him Ra's al Ghul or like any other number of things, but I really think that he would just do, I think he would like doing the Question better because he has a lot more depth than people think. And also they casted someone as Renee Montoya for Birds of Prey. I mean, she becomes the Question after the main Question. So I mean, the Question movie could be about like Keanu Reeves passing down the mantle of the Question down to Renee Montoya, and I think that would be, I think one, it'd make a really cool movie. Two, the Question deserves a movie, and three, like I just think Keanu Reeves would be great as the Question.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he could pull off like 20 different superheroes, but I feel like the Question would be one of those things, kind of like that we've been talking about a lot, where it would be one of the best performances for a superhero.
Yeah. So yeah, that pretty much sums up the superhero cinematic draft. I really enjoyed this type of podcast, didn't you?
Too.
I think this is definitely one of the best types of content that we've had on the channel. I got a quick question for you. What was your favorite pick for the draft? On like that you've picked.
That I've picked?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if there's just one that I really like. I don't think there's one that I like the most, but I don't know. I would love to see Donald Glover play the Flash. I would just love that. I think he would just do so great. And I'm trying to think of everyone who I casted. I'm pulling out my old notes. Okay. Gerard Butler. I'm pretty proud of that one.
Yeah.
I also really liked Luke Evans as
Craven.
As Craven, yeah, I thought that one was really good.
I really liked Eddie Redmayne as Scarecrow. I think that's a really good choice.
I just feel like that's one that people wouldn't expect, but then it would just blow everyone.
Yeah. Like, now that you've suggested that, I really, really want to see him as Scarecrow in a movie.
Yeah, I just think he would work better especially if they're wanting to make it darker and grittier like they were going to.
I think he could do, like, both ways, though. Like, he could do a darker one, and then he could do a more light version.
I mean, he could be in the DCEU, or he could be in, like, the Matt Reeves Batman series. I think he could do both. I think he would fit in with both of them. I'm trying to think of the other ones. I think Daniel Craig would be really cool as Darkseid.
Yeah.
I think Richard Armitage as Wolverine. That's a really good one.
I think my favorite pick, my favorite Marvel pick, the one that I chose, it'd be Adam Driver as Moon Knight. I think that would be really entertaining to watch. But I feel like that would have to be a more darker version of Moon Knight.
Yeah, I think with Adam Driver it would have to be. I think Marvel would go down a darker road with Moon Knight.
Mm.
I think Adam Driver. The thing is that he's gonna be great no matter what he does.
Right.
I think he could absolutely knock that out of the park. I'm trying to think back to more like the first round.
I wish I would have kept the list that I had, because after the first draft that we did, I stupidly deleted all the choices that I did and stuff, thinking that I wouldn't need it again. But yeah, that was dumb.
I'm really proud of Caitlin Denver as Carrie Kelly.
Yes.
I really like that pick.
She's such a good actress.
She really is. There was another one from the first round that you picked that I really liked.
Viggo Mortensen as Doctor Doom.
Yes, that.
Yep. I really like that. I hope that's what they do. I think he could absolutely just do amazing. I think that would be another one of those performances that would be unrivaled,
Mm-hmm.
He could easily be the best Doctor Doom that we've seen on screen.
Oh, I mean that's not a hard contest, but I mean it would beat all of the other performances so far out of the water just because Viggo Mortensen is just so talented.
I'm telling you, Marvel, just watch this video and I mean it'll blow your mind. There's so many good choices for all of these different characters.
Who did you pick as Magneto?
Magneto was Ben Mendelsohn. And actually, I was gonna choose dang it, I forgot his name. He's Voldemort. Who is it?
Ralph Fiennes.
Yes, I was gonna have him as either Magneto, but I was thinking more Professor X on that. But then I saw that he's not really doing franchise films right now after Harry Potter and stuff. He's more into the independent films. And so that's the reason that I didn't cast him as Professor X. But yeah, I think Ben Mendelsohn, I don't think he'd be as good as Ian McKellen or Michael Fassbender, but I think he could do. I think he'd be a decent choice for Magneto.
Like he would do a good job. Especially in the MCU. What are the other ones? I'm trying to think back to the earlier rounds. I did think of a role for Joe Keery to play. And I was so tempted to put him in the third round, but I thought, why not put him as Jimmy Olsen, as Superman's best friend?
Yeah.
He easily could play an intern at the Daily Planet, and I think it'd be really funny him talking to Henry Cavill and Amy Adams. I thought it would be really funny because I kept trying to think of a bigger role for him to play, but then I was like, because I had read All Star Superman, and I was like, no, Joe Keery would just be too good as Jimmy Olsen.
Uh-huh.
That I don't know if I would want him to play anyone else.
Yeah. He's one of those actors that I feel like, if not like later down the road, like he's one of those actors that I think could find himself in a superhero movie very soon. Like he's that good of an actor, and you know, I don't know how much longer Stranger Things is going to go on for, but I picture it as coming to an end, and I really hope to see him in more movies and TV shows later on down the line, because I enjoy his performance as Steve so much. He's probably my favorite character in Stranger Things.
Oh, me too. But I also had an idea for who could play Alfred if Jeremy Irons doesn't come back.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'd be really cool if Pierce Brosnan played Alfred, because he played James Bond for a long time. I think it was
Mm-hmm.
either in the 80s or the 90s. I mean, now that he's gotten older, like he just looks like Alfred. Like he could definitely play a Alfred who used to be like in the Marines and like a spy.
Yeah.
I mean, he was James Bond. Like he's at like the perfect age to play Alfred. I think that would just be so cool.
I could see that. That's a good choice. I like that. Um, is there anything else that you want to say before we put this to an end?
Uh, I really enjoy casting. I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's something that if people like, that we should definitely do more in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I think it'd be cool to recast different franchises. So I mean, if that's something people would want to listen to and would be interested in, I think that'd be really cool.
Oh yeah, I think we would have a whole lot of fun doing that. And that's like, casting is one of those things where I think is a really good exercise for people who want to go into the film business, because I think,
Mm-hmm.
if your movie or your show doesn't have a good cast, then it's gonna fall flat, even if the writing is absolutely like top notch and perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a really good exercise to find the right people for those parts, even if you're just looking for lesser known people.
Mm-hmm. But I don't know if anybody has any suggestions for us to recast. Like I thought it'd be cool maybe to do like Back to the Future
Yeah.
or something like that. And maybe do like where we pick out a movie like Back to the Future and we both come up with cast lists and compare, and then we make like one like super cast for the movie or something.
Mhm.
Or even go as far as like recast Star Wars. Like if A New Hope was made today, like who would the cast be?
Or we could even
Something
do
like
like recasting it from that time period, like get all those actors that were
see
known
that
at
would
that
that
time.
would be something cool. If like, what if Avengers was made in the 90s and we
Mhm.
pick out big actors that were in the 90s and cast them as superheroes or something?
Yeah. Um but yeah, I think that's definitely one of the things that we could do. Um so I think the next time we do a podcast, is that going to be the like the planning out the future of like the DC and Marvel universe?
Um,
Is that what we want to do next?
sure.
Okay.
I mean, I have my notes ready. I've like revised like the schedule like 20 different times just to try to make it as like the best as it can,
Yeah.
because I really want DC to be great. Like there should be no reason why DC isn't on the same level or beating Marvel. I mean, DC owns Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. Like those, like Superman and Batman are the two, like besides Spider-Man, are like the most iconic superheroes of all time. Every time there's a movie made with them, it should make like Avengers, like Star Wars: The Force Awakens money.
Right.
You know, like Superman is just one of those most like iconic characters. But I mean, there's only been like one or two of those movies that have actually been good.
Mm-hmm.
But I want them to be good. DC has just so many great characters, and they deserve to have good movies with really good writing and really good acting. So.
Mm-hmm. So we'll do that next time. But yeah, if anybody watching has suggestions for us, like different kind of topics that they'd like us to talk about, or ideas for us to make a podcast on, definitely let us know. But I guess we're going to sign off. So until next time.